actively be thinking, I am in this position, I'm going to go for it, I have everything that you guys need and you need to hire me. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am SimpliDimi, aka Dimitri. This channel is about faith, fun and finance. So if you're interested in one or all three, then continue watching and also consider subscribing. So in today's video, it's going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about interviewing, and actually it links directly to one of my previous videos that talked about why are you broke. And one of the things I said was just that you just don't earn enough money. And absolutely, there are so many of us, by the grace of God, who are trying to set up their side hustles. But you know what? Before your side hustle becomes your main source of income, you often have to do like some kind of 9-to-5 job or some kind of job where you're working for the government or another company or whatever the case may be. And even as you are there, one of the things I mentioned in that video was trying to ensure that you get a promotion so that you can be earning more. Whether you get a promotion in the company which you're already in, or you promote yourself to a better position elsewhere, oftentimes that involves having interviews. And so in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I have done to help me to get to another position. Now, I'm not going to lie, I am in no way an expert at this, but when I did my research and I implemented these strategies, I found that I was a lot more successful, and it caused me to be able to go from one level to another level, and that means earning one set of money to another set of money, and I was happy about that. So the first thing that you want to do when you are looking for a job interview is go in a way above what you are currently. If you're moving positions within your organization or in fact to another company, I would say that you should try to always like move up, whether that be in terms of moving up in terms of how much the salary is or in terms of the position, aka getting more responsibility, always seeking to do more. I've recently been talking a lot about toolkits and adding more things into your toolkit. And so even if you are within a given company and there's a position that allows you to develop more skills, even if it pays the same amount, I would say go for it, because these are the more things that you can add to your toolkit so that when you are ready to leave, when you are ready to perhaps start your own business, whatever the case may be, you have greater skill sets, right? And so whatever you're doing, ensure that you are either earning more money, gaining a new skill, right? Or being in a position where you can have, perhaps meet new people or something. There needs to be something that allows you to be like, okay, cool. And you need to believe that you have the capacity and the ability to move up, right? Or to move or to be in that different circle. Sometimes we psych ourselves out. I remember when I was applying for the job I had now, I was like, should I stay at the level that I am or should I go higher? And I praise the Lord that I just felt a conviction like, no, Dimitri, go to the next level. And I did, and I got the position. And you know what, when I first started, I felt like, should I really? But you know what? With time comes experience, and with experience comes a level of competence that you grow. And so I would say definitely don't feel like, I'm going to move jobs and I'm just going to stay where I am. No, you were there. So if you were there, you have skills. That means that you should be ready for the next step. Okay. The second thing is look at the job description and the person specification. This might just be UK related terms if you are another part of the world. Obviously chop and change. But for me, when I look at a job, I really comb through the job description and I comb through the person specification. I make sure that there are key things. I might not have everything, but I have, a good 80%, 70-80% of what they're asking for. And if I don't have the 20%, then I can demonstrate it potentially that I have the ability to learn, or I might not have it 100% in terms of that 20%, but I have it, it's like I haven't done this all the way, but I've done it some of the way. And if with my some of the way experience, you should definitely hire me. So go through the person specification, go through the job description, and really, or with your pen, I know we don't print anymore, but I would, even if it's online, already start writing out where you have the given skill, or the given experience. Okay, so really be making notes as you go through the job specification. You might be reading something and be like, this really ain't for me, keep moving. But go through the job description and the person specification. So the third thing I would say is call them. And I know we're talking about interviewing skills here, but I think prior to even getting to the interview, you need to do these behind the scenes activities to really give yourself the best chance. I say this because one of my friends recently did an interview, and what she had expected based on the person specification and what she got questioned for was two different things. Now, if she had called up, she might have learned that, they were looking for a position relating to more administration than what she had expected. Do you see? So really call them up where you can, and ask for some further information, or even just an email, right? If you are, if you can't get hold of them, email them, and perhaps they can arrange a time to call you, or you can ask some questions on via email that they can then respond to. So when you call them, you can say, hey, I am X and X. I'm interested in the position that was advertised on Y. I would like to know a little bit more about what this role will entail. And when you have that conversation, they might just give you a little bit of information. You might then be able to ask some questions for some clarification. Maybe there was a couple of things on the job description or the person specification that you weren't so sure about that you can then ask. And really it shows a keen interest in the position, right? The fourth thing is, once you have this information, you've given them a call, you've actually combed through the bits and pieces that from the information that they've given about the job, you would then, perhaps for most jobs, even a cover letter, you then obviously have to write something. Now, what you write, remember that they are going to be seeing this. And so you want to comb through, look for grammatical errors, make sure that you link in what they've said, the specific things that they've said on the person specification. You've included that in your cover letter wherever possible, but also for your personal statement. I use subtitles, so really showing them like, this is what you mentioned about roles and responsibilities. I literally, my personal specification, write roles and responsibilities. It may be different in different roles, but you want to ensure that your personal statement is a real reflection of what you have read, which will show that you've done your research, which will show that this person hasn't just kind of like copied and pasted. Absolutely, there are some parts that may be copied and pasted, but you want to tweak it for that particular role. Then that will increase the likelihood that you will be invited for interview. So you've done all that you've done, and now it's the time for interview. What you want to do first and foremost is plan to get there at least 15 minutes beforehand. At least 15 minutes beforehand. You don't know what might happen. I mean, again, I guess with Zoom, if you're having a Zoom interview, it's a little bit different. But I would absolutely be in the waiting room at least 5 minutes before the interview, because you want to make sure that your internet connection is sorted out, your camera position is good, your lighting is good. You want to be prepared, okay? And so whether in person or online, you want to ensure that you are there before your time. If your interview's at 5, you get there 1:45 in person, or you get there 5:45 in online. Make sure you're there on time. The last interview I was at, they actually had cordoned off the road that I was meant to be going down. So like what was meant to be a 5-minute walk from the station, it was actually then a 15-minute walk. And it's because I had that little bit of leeway that I was able to, get there and not feel like huffed and puffed and oh my goodness, right? And you imagine like something happened and I was still on time. It showcases that I wasn't going to just be bang on time. I had given myself that extra couple of minutes, or not even extra couple of minutes, a good few minutes, several minutes to get there on time. So that would be my first thing. The second thing is I would always go for again, it depends on where you're applying for, but I would always go dress smart casual. That's often the safest bet. And for females, I would say just go with a dress, not bodycon, quite loose fitting, that is, fun and free. But if you add some heels to it, it can be a smarter outfit. Okay, so wear something that if you, with flats, it's fine. With heels, it's like, oh, okay, she came for a meeting, it's fine. That's kind of how I suss it out. And for the men, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know, because I'm not a guy, but I would say you definitely have like a smart shirt, right? Whether that be long sleeves or not. If you're in winter, long sleeves with a jumper, not necessarily wear a tie. If you're in summer, then like a smart shirt, and I guess, perhaps not necessarily a dress like proper trousers, but like not jeans either. In terms of footwear, again, I would say not wear trainers. I wouldn't necessarily say even wear flip-flops. Sandals with like where your feet are contained, I would go for, but anything smart casual. So we're there. You've got there on time, you know about the job interview. On arrival, if you can look at the leaflets around in the building, I would do that. I would, if I was online, have the browser open of the particular position I'm looking for. Just because if you have that information, you're like, oh, and then you might very well reference it in your interview. So if I'm in person, I'll grab a couple leaflets and just kind of read through. You've obviously arrived on time, and just again to show interest in the company. Once you've done that, the way in which you hold yourself up is so important. It might be something that you psych yourself up for, but shoulders back, chest kind of raised, and be ready. When they come, hi, I'm hi, I'm Dimitri, you shake their hand, or whatever the case may be. Maybe not in light of everything that's going on in the world right now, but definitely have like an upright demeanor. Jordan Peterson talks about the lobster, and lobsters who have their tail, I think he says like kind of straight, are typically more, confident, and they typically be kind of more dominant. Obviously, I'm not saying, be aggressive, but definitely if you kind of curled over, that's not a good look. You want to actively be thinking, I am in this position, I'm going to go for it. I have everything that you guys need, and you need to hire me. Okay, so then we get to the interview, and you get there perfect. You introduce yourself, your shoulders are back. Make sure that you ask for water and pen and paper. In fact, not necessarily even ask for it. I would bring water and a pen and paper with me, because your water, top tip, if you are thinking about interview question, I somehow have water here. You grab your water and you say, okay, hold on, just give me a couple seconds. And you have a couple of sips. Once you've had your couple of sips, that gives you a little bit of time to think about the question, okay? Also, with pen and paper, I found that to be the most beneficial top tip. When you are asked interview questions, don't just respond. Write it out, okay? They say, how would you deal with a student that is, has challenging behaviors? I literally write student challenging behaviors, deal. Keywords I note down, and then before I've even opened my mouth, I have put 3 points on there. 1 X, 2 Y, 3 Z. So when I'm therefore talking, I'm literally referring to my paper, and I'm saying, well, the first thing I would do is blah 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 blah. The second thing I would do is blah 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 blah, and the third thing I would do is blah 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 blah. And they can literally see that I've written out my points. You don't have to write full sentence, but as thoughts come into your head, you will put them down before you've started speaking. It shows that you're processing the information. It shows that you're not just going to just talk on a whim. It shows that you really care about the response that you give, okay? And it might be that you're mid-conversation, and and actually in addition to that, and then I would put 4 and then write the note and then start talking. That I found that to be really, really helpful. So again, we've talked about confidence, we've talked about time, we've talked about paper and pen, we've talked about water. Even in your driving test, that's another top tip, like have some water. If you have to pull over to the side of the road and just drink to calm yourself down, honestly, having water is a really good thing. The other thing I would say, I've kind of lost my numbering system at this point, but another top tip is always, I kind of linked it kind of links in with knowing the company, but also knowing the laws that are associated with that company. So for me, I work within the NHS at the moment, and so I would, be mindful of the NHS related governance, and also thinking about, I work in education, so again, looking at the Department of Education and thinking about any recent information that has come about, be really abreast with that, whatever you're thinking about. Even if it's like you want a job in events, or you want a job with regards to, high street shops. What is happening in relation to high streets? What changes have been made? Absolutely. Have that little extra bit of information. It's not just about what you can bring, but also what you know about the industry that you are wanting to be working with, okay? That definitely be aware of that. So not just know what the company was happening with the company or the organization, but also what is happening industry wide. Have at least 2 fun facts that you can pull out that you'll be like, oh yeah, well, I actually read recently that okay? Be mindful of that. The other thing I wanted to say is ask questions. If they ask you a question that you're not quite sure what they're talking about, sorry, do you mind, can you elaborate a little bit more on XYZ? What do you mean by So I put my water back. Sometimes you might very well have an idea of what they're talking about, but you want to be clear, because the worst thing is answering a question that you weren't asked, right? And so you say, okay, you've said blah, blah, blah. Am I right in understanding that you are referring to how this would impact in the school, or are you relating it to how it would impact the families? And they might come in, for example, and say, oh, both. And then take back your pen and paper, and you might put families and schools, and then you remember the 1, 2, 3 points I've done. You might do 2 points for families, 2 points for schools, but you clarified the question. Don't be afraid to clarify the question, okay? And be, sorry, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Would you be able to explain that question again? Do you mind repeating that question just so that I know exactly what you're referring to? That's absolutely okay. That is absolutely okay. All right. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Don't be afraid to share them what you think, and double check before you've given a full answer that is what they want you to say. Okay. And then I would say perhaps the final thing is have questions prepared. And we know this We absolutely know this, but sometimes you say, do you have any questions for me? And you're like, oh, no, that's fine. Some questions, for example, I think would work in any industry or the majority of industries. What are the top 3 things that you'd like me to be able to achieve within my first 3 months at your company? Or you might say, what are the 3 things that you really enjoy about working here? Or you might say, how has the recent event, directly impacted your company in relation to the what's been hard or what's been what has been helpful in light of everything that's happened. Okay, these are some questions I think are really, really helpful. And I would always want to ask the interviewer a direct question about how they are finding their time in this particular company. If they start to stumble and say, well, then you think, well, if you are interviewing me for your job and you can't think of a positive, that's a little bit worrying. Remember that you are interviewing them as well as them interviewing you. Okay, and this is an inner confidence that one must have. You must know you might absolutely want a pay rise, you might absolutely want a job, but you want to make sure that you are in the best place. And so ensure that you ask questions so that you are in the best position and you are at the right company for you. I hope you guys have found this information helpful. Please feel free to ask any other questions that you might have in relation to getting a job or winning an interview. And I will be sure to, either answer or perhaps do another video. I have not, done so many different interviews in my life, but what I have implemented has been successful thus far. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. God bless.